My name is Simon Corby. I'm Director at the Alliance for Sustainable Building Products. And so you've got 5 minutes from me, and then my colleague Catherine Adams is going to offer an update on our Plastics in Construction group. And then I'm so pleased that we're joined by 3 colleagues of mine, long-time colleagues of mine, it must be said. They will be breathing fire. They will be our judges today. So we're joined by Stephanie Palmer, who's the Sustainability Manager at Wienerberger. And Wienerberger are patron members of the ASBP. They have been with us since the very beginning. So the many years ago, it seems now, that we launched. So it's back in 2011, back in the Palace of Westminster. So Wienerberger were our patron member on that day, and they have been with us through our journey ever since. So we're so pleased to see Stephanie join us today. And then we've got Asif Din, who's a long-time colleague of mine and is Sustainability Director at Perkins of Will. So Asif has always got some really interesting things to say. And then Drew Robbins, Head of Specification and Sustainability at ARP Limited. So a member of our plastics group and a very entertaining colleague of mine too. So we look forward to sharing some experiences from them. If you've got any questions for them, they're going to show a few slides. They've got just about 8 minutes to talk and a couple of minutes for questions. If you've got any questions, just put them in the Q&A. We'll come to that in a second. So we're going to have 3 pitches today. So we've got Earthblocks UK, we've got Warm Shell, which is lime green products, and then we've got Fab Hab. So we've got 3 really exciting pitches that we're going to understand a bit more about. We can ask questions from the pitches, a bit more detail, and grill them in a nice sort of Christmassy way. And then at that stage, we're going to ask you, the audience, to have your say on who should come through to the grand finale, which is actually going to be on the 24th of February. And then we'll go back to the judges to see if they have made a decision as to who they think is the winner, and then we'll finish at 12:30. So just a few instructions: put your questions in the Q&A. You can always upvote them. We'll try and bring in your questions. We'll ask you to unmute and ask the questions if you can, or not if you don't want to. We are recording this webinar. So just bear that in mind. If you don't want to appear, don't turn your camera on. So it'll be up on our website over the next couple of days for catch-up listening. So just a quick reminder, the Alliance of Sustainable Building Products, we're a not-for-profit mission-led membership organisation. And so that's our mission: to accelerate the transformation to a healthy, low-carbon built environment by championing the use of demonstrably sustainable building products. And we ask our members to sign up to our mission, to help us with our mission. And we try and help our members with that mission as well. We organise lots of events like this one. This is our, I think it's our 19th, Richard was saying, since lockdown. We've got 2 research projects just on the go. And we've been looking at product standards and aiming to inform policy. Our membership has been growing even through lockdown, which I'm really pleased to see. I think we've got over 80 members now, so that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So this pitch series, this is our 4th one, and we've got 1 more in the series, which is in January, 28th of January, and this one is on building services. So we've had a pitch series on insulation and on packaging, flooring, paints and finishes, and today we're looking at walls and build systems. So quite a nice concept, and I think it was probably Stephanie actually who came up with the concept, so credit where credit is due. So we have had an incredibly busy year, as Richard will tell you. So we have done 20 events since lockdown began, and the vast majority of them are up on our website for free catch-up watching if you're looking for something to do over Christmas. But they are available there. We are a knowledge exchange organisation. We do aim to inspire and share knowledge, and this has been quite a positive way of enabling us to do that. So, so just have a look at everything there. Next year, as I've mentioned, we've got our final event in the series on the 28th of January on building services. So we're actually looking for pictures there. And then on the 24th and the 25th of February, over 2 days, we've got our annual Healthy Buildings Conference. That'll be our 5th one. So I'm just lining up some really interesting speakers just at the moment. So we'll release the program. We'll sort of feed you the program in tidbits, maybe with the first news coming over the next couple of days. And then the grand finale for this series will be on the 24th in the afternoon. I'll come back to everybody with a bit more detail about that shortly. So this is one of the research projects that we're underway with. So this is a Interreg EU. So although we've left Europe, we managed to get on the last train as it left, and we're looking at waste duvets, and they're a sort of problematic waste source. So we're looking if we can refiberize them and perhaps fiberize them or introduce other types of natural fiber insulation and make a sustainable product from that. So that lasts for a couple of years. So we're working with our partners Back to Earth and Thermofleece and Nobody there. And the other research project, which I'll briefly mention, is as we've been signed the contract with the Loudis Foundation to look at mass timber and trying to reverse the issues with mass timber just at the moment with the combustible product ban and just sort of issues around sequestered carbon and how we can actually reward that. So as I said, we are a membership organisation. We do rely on our members' money to pay the bills and to enable us to do our work. So I would encourage you to join as a member. We're very cost effective. We do a free newsletter. We don't bombard you with endless stuff. So it's going to be a monthly newsletter and 1 or 2 sort of event reminders. I'm looking for sponsors for our Healthy Buildings Expo in February. So just drop me a note or get in touch. And we run a number of sort of specialist groups around natural fibre insulation, reducing plastics, and we're hoping to do a paints and finishes one in the new year. So just sign up to our website there, and that's our contact details. So thank you, that's enough from me. So I'm going to hand you over now to Catherine Adams, who's going to talk us through our work with the Reducing Plastics in Construction group and let you know what we've been doing and some really interesting and valuable outputs that we've produced there and what we're looking to do next year. So over to you, Catherine. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine. So I look after the Plastics in Construction group at ASBP, and I'll just take you through very quickly some of the things that we're up to and a bit of an introduction to the group. If you've been at some of the other innovation pitch series, then you may have already seen some of these slides. So we got together nearly 2 years ago now, very much a sort of across the supply chain collaborative group, and looked at what the issues, common issues to us all. You can see a list there. So very much looking at alternatives to plastics, making sure that they're robust. A lot of the contractors have issues with packaging as well, going a bit further upstream and looking at microplastics and nurdles. So nurdles come from the manufacturing process, the little pellets of pallets as well, and looking at to move away from plastics in certain applications where it makes sense to do that. Also more of an understanding on what happens to plastic waste at the end of its life. So as I said, we're collaborative, very much about learning, transfer of knowledge, quite small, that allows us to keep us nimble, very much looking at challenges and defining solutions for those challenges, and working very much collaboratively with lots of different partners. We know the plastics space is quite a busy space, so we want to add value to that where we can. Our membership, at the back we have paid membership. You can see the prices there. Do come and join if you feel that it would be benefit for yourselves. And then we have another number of supporters and sort of guest presenters that come in to the meetings. This just gives you an idea of what some of our members are up to. So we have MACE done a very effective Time to Act campaign on their sites, which is driving down the use of single-use plastics. I think this is a project from Cullinan Studios, lots of use of natural materials there. A very interesting project is one from Accord Housing, part of an Interreg project, which are developing 12, well, it was going to be plastic-free houses, but it's virtually plastic-free houses because some products are just very difficult to substitute. I think they're on site now, so it would be good to have a look to see how they're getting on. And I think that's what they'll look like when fully built. And then we have members as well who are offering alternatives to plastic products. We hope to do some work on this next year, actually, some nice interactive graphics of housing and buildings showing where products could be substituted and linking through to some of our members' products. So what have we done so far? We've learnt from each other, we've done site visits, we've got an introduction guide, which I'll show you quickly at a moment. Stakeholder mapping, very much about engaging and understanding the issues and what alternatives are out there. And today we're very much on this innovating piece, so looking at what innovations are out there and how they can be used. And then finally looking at piloting different solutions and these innovations and learning from how they perform. So this is an interactive stakeholders map, free to use. It has lots of connections between stakeholders, activities. It's a clever piece of software. You can zoom in and zoom out. We are in the process of updating this, so do let us know if you get a chance, if you want to be on it or you think something's missing or shouldn't be on there. We also have our introduction guide, which we're also updating. This works as an interactive PDF. So there's the questions in terms of why is plastics an issue? What do we know about it? What are the drivers? What's the data? And then then that screen comes up and then it hyperlinks where relevant to other resources. Again, please do feedback on that. And as Simon mentioned, I think this is our fourth innovation pitch series. So you can all catch these online if you want to. And you can see here some of our winners and audience winners. So we've had one on installation, one on packaging, which had 2 different winners. Last month we had paints and finishes, which also had 2 winners, and today you're obviously here for walls. Next event is building services. Again, a plea, if anyone would like to participate, do get into touch. And then our grand final will be at our Healthy Buildings conference. Exciting news, we're looking at launching a training platform next year, and we will we've got lots of information and lots of knowledge and experience from our plastic group, but also wider within ASBP. So we want to put lots of materials on there to help disseminate and transfer knowledge. Okay, so I'll hand over back to Simon. Do get in touch with us. We're a friendly bunch, always happy to hear from people. So good luck to all the pictures. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. That's excellent. Superb. So, all right, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first judge. So that's Stephanie Palmer, who's Sustainability Manager at Wienerberger. So morning to you, Stephanie. So,
hey, good morning, everyone.
Maybe you can pop your slides up and
Sure.
And then we'll ask you to talk for about 8 minutes, and then we'll try and take 1 or 2 questions at that stage. If anybody's got any questions, just put them in the Q&A. So over to you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Oh, good stuff. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome, great. Well, thanks very much for inviting me to be a dragon today. It's a pleasure to help ASBP out with a great event on what's been a really bumper 10-year for ASBP. So as an introduction to Wienerberger, we operate 16 factories across the UK. Our headquarters are in Cheadle, just south of Manchester. And in total, we employ just over 1,400 employees in the UK. Last year, our revenues were 285 million, so fair-sized company. Wienerberger Limited is a part of the Wienerberger Group. So Wienerberger AG is our parent company. They're based in Vienna in Austria, and globally, we employ over 17,000 employees, and our revenues in 2019 were 3.5 billion. And we operate in 30 countries globally with over 200 production sites. And we manufacture 6 different product groups for building materials, which I'll take you through shortly. As a company, we're listed on the Vienna Stock Exchange. We're one of the largest companies on there. And our mission is to improve people's quality of life through providing outstanding sustainable building material and infrastructure solutions. So our mission is very much aligned with that of the ASBP. In terms of the products that we produce globally, there are these 6 product categories which involve clay blocks, so that's for walls, and then we have roof tiles in both clay and concrete, and reconstituted slate in the UK. Bricks, which is our largest product category, and that was what Wienerberger began making in 1819 when it was founded in Vienna. We also now make plastic pipes for infrastructure and clay pipes too, and then also pavers, which again are clay and concrete based. So we're trying to cover the whole building envelope as a company. And within the UK, we're just making roof tiles, bricks and clay pavers, but we have expanded our facade systems recently, and we'll be looking to continue that through the UK operations. So with ASBP, we have been working closely on the Plastics in Construction group, where Wienerberger has taken some of the knowledge we learnt there, and we're working on an internal program to tackle our plastic packaging, as are many other manufacturers in the UK at the moment too. So with our products, bricks and roof tiles, it's been a challenge because the plastic that we use to wrap and deliver our products has a health and safety requirement, in that we don't want any products falling out of it, and we in terms of resource efficiency, we need the packaging to sufficiently protect the product so that it arrives safely at our customer sites. So we are working on firstly reducing the amount of plastic that we use, and also seeking opportunities to remove it altogether. And the reduction of plastic packaging fits broadly into our sustainability strategy, which is due to be renewed next year as we come to the end of our sustainability roadmap to 2020. Our focus areas going forward are decarbonisation, circular economy and improving biodiversity. So with the pictures that we have lined up today, I'm really interested to hear more about the products, particularly on the decarbonisation aspect, because I think that there's a lot that our pictures have to offer there, as well as some of the circular economy and resource efficiency aspects as well. So yeah, very much looking forward to listening to the pictures, and thanks for inviting me to be a judge.
Oh, thanks, Stephanie. That's fantastic. So Stephanie was kind enough to invite us to visit their Ewhurst brick factory, and that was before lockdown. But that was the first time I've ever been to a brick factory, and it was a fascinating visit. I somehow expected it to be noisy and dusty, and it was. I mean, I have slight COPD, and so I was a bit like nervous, and but it was the air was so clean and clear. It was fantastic, and so much automation and so quiet. It was a really fascinating visit. I recommend it to everybody to go, because it was a really educational visit. So I don't suppose it's open at the moment, but that's something to look forward to. You know, once
definitely.
Once we all start getting our vaccinations. So yeah.
You said UHERS Factory, just on that, it opens once a year as part of their Heritage Open Days that the National Trust runs. So if you do want to come and visit, take a look out for that schedule. It usually happens in September. Whether it will take place in 2021 or not, I'm unsure, but going forward, hopefully we'll be able to offer that again.
Yes, okay. Well, we'll let everybody know, keep people in the picture. So thanks, Stephanie. Okay, all right. So I'm going to introduce our next judge now this morning. So this is Asif Din, his Sustainability Director at Perkins & Will. So Asif, I'm going to ask you to share your screen and give you the floor. So
thank you.
Thank you.
And no, well, thank you for inviting me, first of all.
Pleasure.
Right, can you see my screen?
We certainly can. Good.
Okay, I'm going to talk from the other side to Stephanie, effectively as a specifier, as a design company. We've started to move away from talking about sustainability and resilience and moving more towards a more holistic viewpoint. Is that going to work? So, in matter of fact, sustainability has always been multifaceted, but thinking about living design, you have to think about lots of different bits and pieces, some that work in conflict and some that don't. Now, in terms of just sustainability, like this is just one aspect and one piece of the jigsaw puzzle. It can be really broken down into energy, water, and materials. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about materials today, as it's ASBP. Now, in terms of what we're trying to do as a company, is that we're using a list. It's a transparency list, effectively, a precautionary list of looking for key materials. Now, if anybody wants to have a look at what sort of key materials actually happen within the construction industry that are bad for us, it's good to actually look at the six classes of materials, which comes out of Green Science Policy Institute. Because this gives you a good insight, effectively, of the classes of materials. It's no use saying, oh, right, okay, we're going to actually say this chemical we're not going to use. Say, I don't know, but an aromatic hydrocarbon, because if you ban that single chemical, there'll be another derivative chemical that probably will just be put in its place. You've got to sort of like think about it more holistically and not become too bogged down in the actual chemical that's actually being used. Now, in terms of Hollywood, sort of like Erin Brockovich and also the new film not newish film, but the newish film Dark Water. If you get a chance to see that, that's effectively all about these impacts of plastics and other elements. In terms of Dark Water, it's non-stick materials that actually affect the environment, but also affect us as human health. One of the interesting parts of the Grenfell report was effectively that fire wasn't sometimes the main constituent. It was actually cyanide poisoning from the insulation material that was a contributing factor. It's what actually goes into the materials as well. It's not just thinking about one aspect. Now, taking a sort of like a broader view, lots of companies are declaring climate emergencies, are declaring roadmaps. This is one from Microsoft. And Microsoft are going one step further, saying, no, we're not going to come carbon neutral. We're actually going to pay back all of the carbon that we've actually consumed since our inception. So it's looking to more of a circular economy, so using reclaimed, retained, and what actually ends at the end of life. Now, part of that is actually looking at how things are being put together, but also what things are actually made of. So looking at the transparency of materials, so people had to declare what's actually within their product. That's an incredibly hard thing to do in the UK. In the US, more and more people are actually producing what's called health product declarations, which means that they have to declare each and every chemical within their product. In the UK, that's incredibly hard to do. And we're working as a company to work with manufacturers to say, what is actually in your product? What can we make sure can actually, so we can be assured that at the end of life, we know exactly what's in there. I've been working with fabric manufacturers that have been, blending wool and polyester and talking about them and how they're going to separate that out at the end of the product life, which has been an interesting process. And this has a knock-on effect to, sort of indoor air quality, acoustics, exterior space and biophilia, and all of those bits and pieces actually have an impact on the well-being of the actual person in our design product, in our projects. So it's about thinking things more as a whole rather than narrowing stuff down to say, I'm just looking at one single aspect. Thank you.
Thanks, Asif. That's a incredibly thought-provoking presentation. That's really encouraging, I would suggest, and very considered. So thank you. I very much enjoyed that. It's really interesting. Okay, so thank you, Asif. I'm going to hand over now to our last judge of the morning. So we're now going to listen to a video that Drew Robbins from ARP has prepared. And then Drew is going to free form it for a few moments after that and talk to us about his company and his interests in the Plastics in Construction group. So without further ado, thank you, Richard. We'll listen to ARP's video.
As extreme weather events are forecast to become more frequent, so the need to channel excess water away from homes and buildings will become increasingly important. Many guttering systems are simply not up to the job, unable to handle the increased flow, prone to leaks and requiring regular maintenance. Mustang is a seamless aluminium gutter system that is easy to install and the ideal solution to prevent gutters from leaking. Made from roll-formed aluminium whilst on site, much of the pre-installation work can be done at ground level prior to raising the gutter to height and fixing into place, making it quick and safe to fit, as well as reducing time spent working at height and homeowner disruption. Once installed, Mustang Seamless Guttering requires minimal maintenance and is the only quality-assured seamless gutter system certified by the British Board of Agreement to last in excess of 30 years. The Mustang gutter system is installed by professional ARP-approved contractors who undergo training and twice-yearly site inspections as part of the BBA approval process. This ensures that the installation on your project will stand the test of time. Mustang gutters are made from 0.9mm pre-coated dual-coloured aluminium coil and have a life expectancy in excess of 30 years. The aluminium is formed into gutters on site to the exact dimensions of the building, in continuous lengths up to 30 meters. Over this long length, UPVC gutter and other component systems would have a minimum of 7 joints, which over time can leak. The integral internal brackets and other Mustang components make the system strong and fit for purpose. And because there are no joints or breaks, it simply doesn't leak. Environmentally friendly, aluminium is one of the most recyclable and reused materials available for use in construction products, and combined with the fact that there is no on-site wastage, Mustang Gutters ticks all the boxes.
Morning, everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, so unlike Wienerberger, we're a very small manufacturer. We're a family-owned and run business based in Leicester, and we're specialist manufacturers of aluminium and cast iron products for the construction industry. The reason that we promote Mustang, or the product you've seen in the video, is we're trying to show that there are alternatives to mainstream products. So plastic guttering is what we're the alternative to, without significant price difference. So it's about raising the awareness of those. So, the product itself having, very recycled of very high recycled content, sort of minimum just under 80%, and also being recyclable at the end, or 100% recyclable without any loss of properties at the end of life. Combined with the fact it's manufactured using hydropower means it's very low in carbon. So again, you're looking at 2.3 kilograms of carbon produced per kilogram, which is the lowest of any rainwater product in the market. The other, in terms of the circular economy aspect, you have no waste. So you make the exact length that you require, but obviously any packaging, or there isn't any packaging because it's all made on site. So rather than making it in a factory and then having to protect the product, it goes to site. And there isn't any maintenance. So there's zero maintenance for in excess of 30 years. That gives you an idea of what we're trying to promote. It's not perfect by any stretch. There's future developments that we're looking at in terms of increasing the aluminium components. Again, you saw there a leaf guard at the moment that is plastic. There is an alternative version that we have. We're looking at sort of more cost-effective versions of that. And we're looking at a potential recycling and reuse system coming in place next year to reuse the packaging that is used on our downpipes, and any waste or offcuts that are created across the range of products is also recycled. Again, I'm a very glad member of the plastics working group. Again, I enjoy the being involved in that, and hopefully coming up with some ideas, and hopefully today I'll have some nice questions to potentially put to the presenters and see what they can come up with.
Okay, thanks, Drew. That's really good, really interesting. So if you've got any questions for the dragons today, then just pop them in the Q&A, and we'll look at those. So thank you, dragons. So we're all set now. We're going to move on to the pitching. Of course, the pitching element of the webinar today. So our first pitcher is Leslie Cornell from Earthblocks UK. So we're going to listen to a couple of minute video from each of the pitchers first, and then we've got 8 minutes for the judges to talk to our pitchers and to ask a few searching questions, and just get to know the products a bit better. So Richard, if I can over to you and ask you to show the first video. Thank you.
Hello Dragons, my name is Leslie Cornell and I am the Managing Director and Founder of Earthblocks Limited. We are manufacturers and suppliers of earth products, i.e. cob blocks and cob bricks. Earthblocks has been established as a company for only 6 months. However, I have been a cob specialist for almost 25 years now. So what is cob? Well, cob is a combination of clay soil, straw and water. And that's it. We believe we've developed not just a product, but various products that will assist in the reparation, rebuilding and or new builds. So what makes our product unique? Well, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. This is a standard cob block, equally available from some outlets in the UK, is the standard cob brick. Perhaps the flagship of our product range, the rounded cob block, used primarily in the rebuilding of corners to cob buildings or reveals. We've also developed, and these are unique, a rounded cob block, smaller than a block, bigger than a brick. Absolutely perfect for window reveal or door reveal repairs or rebuilds. In addition to this, our rounded cob bricks. There are many cost-saving aspects to the installation of our products. For example, flat walling to accommodate plasters or renders. And we can see here that we're achieving regulation thicknesses. Thank you, Dragons, for listening to our pitch here at Earth Blocks. And remember, cob, building the past, building the future.
Thank you, Leslie. I like the strap to the strap line, building the past, building the future. I like that. So maybe we can ask you to put your camera on. There you are. Thank you, sir. Hi. So I'm going to hand over to the Dragons and ask them to pop their cameras on. And I'm just going to ask you to shout out with your questions. I'm not going to try and do this any other way. So maybe I can see that Asif has got his microphone unmuted. So we'll start with Asif, and so off you go. Thank you very much.
You mentioned that the primary market is effectively rebuilding of cob buildings. Have you established?
Sorry.
Have you established what your market looks like? You know, how many cob buildings are there, and where would your product actually fit in?
Well, our cob products fit into the cob repairs and cob rebuilding and cob new building. So cob new building could be anywhere.
Yeah.
The cob repairs, earth buildings all across the country, called different things. In West Country cob, clump in Wales. I think it's cob up north as well somewhere. There's even earth buildings in Scotland. So it's not geographically limited, and it's certainly not globally. You know, there's earth buildings all over the world. So yes, the market perhaps arguably is limited for the cob repairs and cob rebuilds. However, new builds, which is what we're hoping to expand into, we'll see. But yeah, it's cob repairs and cob rebuilding presently.
Fantastic, thank you.
So Leslie, I'm not sure you quite answered the question, which was, can you have a rough stab at how many cob buildings there are in the UK? Just, we're not going to hold you to it, but I don't have a particularly good sense. I probably should do, but perhaps you can help us with that.
Well, I would calculate. Well, let's stick with Cornwall. Let's stick with Cornwall for a second.
Okay.
Because several years ago,
the country of Cornwall.
I did start to create a map of known cob walling in Cornwall, and that was stopped being added to perhaps 3 years ago.
Okay.
And the count then was perhaps 2,500.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's all right. And that's not searching for them. That's
okay.
And perhaps drive-bys. So UK, difficult to say. We have a project in Bedfordshire at the moment.
Okay.
And that's an earth-built house, which wouldn't really be, one wouldn't think or expect to have an earth building there. So they are everywhere. So forgive my vagueness.
No, I didn't really expect you to tell me exactly, but that's good. Thank you, Leslie.
There must be 10, 15,000 more, maybe more.
Yeah, okay. That's about what I sort of would have guesstimated. So, all right, lovely. Thank you. Any more questions, Asif?
No.
Okie dokie. So I see Drew's got his microphone unmuted. So Drew, maybe I can ask you to go next.
Hi, thanks, Simon. Yeah, hi, Leslie.
Hi, Drew.
You're wanting to move into the new build or into the new build market, which is obviously a volume and will increase the sales of the product, obviously exponentially, I would assume. Why would somebody want to use your product rather than traditional blocks and bricks?
Many reasons, Drew. The installative aspect and thermal qualities of earth over concrete and or fired brick. The sustainability, it's a natural material. There's no heat sources to make our products. It's purely 3 basic ingredients that are pretty much everywhere in the country.
So is it a fired product?
No, unfired, dried naturally. And our standard cod blocks will take 8 weeks to dry, give or take a week or 2, depending on the time of year. And that's not forced, that's naturally. Our drying tunnel is southwest facing, which is where our predominant weather comes from, and works an absolute treat. It dries them. So 8 weeks to perhaps 10 weeks for the standard cod blocks. The bricks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks sometimes, ready for, and then they're ready to use.
Well, we'd like to come and visit, Leslie, when we're allowed to.
Oh, you're
so we'll tee up a visit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look forward to that. So thanks, Drew. All right, Stephanie, I'm going to ask you to come in now. Some questions.
Yeah, sure. Leslie, hello. Thanks very much for pitching your product and the very informative video that we started with. Our products actually aren't too dissimilar because Wienerberger runs a very similar format and material, bricks through huge kilns that are about 100 meters long. So given that cod blocks aren't fired and there's a relatively small market for it at the moment, but you're wishing to expand it, I wondered whether you have published any embodied carbon information at the moment. I couldn't find it on your website, which is why I'd like to follow up the question about it.
No, further research and continued research does go on here.
Yeah.
I can say that we are in the process of, with talks with trading standards for next year to have our 3 principal products certified, which is a European technical assessment because there is no certification for these products at the moment. Right. I believe the nearest is in New Zealand and they have some cement additives in theirs. So there isn't a standard and we're trying to achieve one. It's very unregulated. Anyone and everyone could go out and make a mud pie and
sure.
and use it to build or repair with. So, as I said in the video, in the pitch, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to do anything other than promote a sustainable building product using fully sustainable materials. And may I add, Stephanie, that we're also when we scale up next year with premises, we will be receiving landfill, suitable soil landfill from the large housing estates, etc., that are popping up over the southwest. So Spaces put a bit of a stop on that at the moment. Our yard isn't that big. So yeah, that's where we're going. The embodied carbon and strength tests and everything else. I know my product works and I know how it's made. But obviously it needs the scientific approach and the proper regulatory approach as well. So watch this space, Stephanie, I'd say.
Yeah, I will do. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephanie. So we've got quite a few questions that have come in from the audience. There's a couple in the chat that I'm going to, so perhaps if I can ask Talin Josephson to maybe put yourself, take yourself off mute and ask your question. Then I'm going to ask Colin Rice to ask a question. So if you can get ready, Colin. So Talin.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you. Yeah, have I pronounced your name correctly?
It's Talin, but close.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just curious if the cob blocks have been fire rated or if they're fire rated with a plaster applied on top.
Thank you.
They are not fire regulated. However, they are not combustible. The only combustible element to our blocks and bricks is the straw element. However, 99% of the straw is embedded within the product.
Yeah.
There's only surface straw, the odd strand here and there, that is combustible. It's a non-combustible material.
Okay, thank you very much. Colin, perhaps I can ask you to ask your question.
I was curious to know a little bit more about the difference between traditional cob and cob blocks. You know, what's the advantage of it, and how are they joined together? What kind of mortar is used?
Well, hello, Colin. The advantages of cob blocks over, well, first of all, what's the difference between a cob block and traditional cob? Nothing, apart from size. It's exactly the same material, and it's compressed, just like a new cob building would have been built hundreds of years ago. Sorry, what was the other question, Colin?
What mortar is used?
There's a choice of mortars. It can be an earth mortar, which is basically sieved cob and water mixed together in a slurry. That can be used as a mortar. Alternatively, the natural lime products, hydraulic lime or non-hydraulic limes, they can be used as well as a common binder.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. I've got quite a few questions that we need to try and run through that have come through on the Q&A. So you're prompting lots of questions, Leslie.
Okay.
So the first one is from Peter Mayer. Peter, I think you've asked a couple of questions. Maybe I can ask you to unmute and ask your questions of Leslie. Peter, are you there? Bottom left.
Hello, Simon.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much.
Great.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
Hello, Peter.
Hello, Leslie. Thank you very much for your fascinating discussion and introduction to earth blocks. Fascinating. Thank you for that.
More than welcome.
I've got a couple of questions. I work in the insurance industry and we insure buildings. And a lot of my work is related to assessing unusual building forms and materials for the purposes of saying, is it going to be insurable or not? So I look a lot at durability as well as life cycle, cost and carbon. So my two questions are related to understanding your manufacturing processes a bit more, but I think you've covered that in the previous question. And the other question is, how durable are these materials, and what product information do you have that relates to structural assessment and hygrothermal assessment? In other words, will they stand up? How will they stand up? How can we ensure that they'll stand up and stay standing up? And how will they deal with dampness, moisture, weather, water, basically, which is the main agent of degradation?
I think you just asked 12 questions there, Peter.
Oh, sorry. I've summed it up into two.
That's right, Peter. I picked up on two of the questions. Structural was the first one, I believe, or structural was the second one. Regarding their structural strength, we know their work. We've done rudimentary tests here, but once again, in hand with trading standards next year, we will get these products tested officially and certified, or ETA, and hopefully go from there. At the moment, all I can say is I know they work, and they do work, and there are products out there, earth products, that really do fall apart. Moisture, well, they need to be kept dry. Well, I say dry, they need to avoid saturation. Cob doesn't like saturation. It doesn't mind getting wet as long as it can dry out again. And this is where cement renders and cementitious applications, inside or out, gypsum plasters, for example, all have their space in the market, but not on cob walls. Like most historic cob walls, or all good historic cob walls, they need to be able to breathe. And so it is important that the right applications go on to any cob, whether it's our cob products or cob walling of 100, 600 years old. It can get wet, but it mustn't get saturated. And as you know, moisture movement, breathability is all achieved through natural plasters and renders. And equally, we've done rudimentary tests, but again, come next year, we are confident that we can add a spray fixative to the surfacing of our products that is moisture, water repellent, by still achieving breathability. That doesn't mean to say that all of our cob walls or cob products should be exposed. If one lives on the cliff top, for example, and the elevation faces southwest, then it's a render. There'll be no cob in the world that will stand that. But more sheltered, it all depends on the geography. But yeah, the more have to be plastered.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. That's really fantastic. I've got a few more questions here, but we've sort of run out of time. So can I ask you, Leslie, to come back and have a look at the computer and pick up on these questions that have come in on the Q&A and type them, or get your colleague to type them? Is that something that you might be able to do? And we're going to move on to our next pitch.
Yeah, sure. We'll start
okay.
through the questions now and see how far we go.
We should probably do a webinar with you in the new year. Thank you, Leslie. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to welcome Dominic Putman and Simon Ayres with their warm shell product from Lime Green. So we've got our video that we're going to show you now, and then we've got 8 to 10 minutes with these guys to pick their brain about their products. So thank you, Richard.
Good morning and Merry Christmas. I'm Dominic Putnam, Head of Business Development at Lime Green Products, the manufacturers of the warm shell breathable wall insulation systems. We are the leading UK manufacturer of lime-based building materials and mineral-based primers and adhesives. In 2010, we launched the warm shell breathable wall insulation systems designed for both external and internal retrofit and new build constructions. Warm shell is the only wood fibre system in the UK with key components made and tested in this country. Since 2015, BBA accreditation for the external retrofit system for masonry has endorsed this sustainable insulation solution for numerous homes and buildings around the UK. Key components of these systems are wood fibre boards produced from sustainable forests and non-toxic lime renders or plasters, which are very durable. These forests capture important quantities of carbon, and the warm shell insulation system provides significant energy efficiencies in old and new buildings alike. Lime Green's warm shell and ultra render systems use a unique, lightweight aggregate made from the unwanted residues of the glass recycling process, blended with natural hydraulic lime. The use of NHL lime not only ensures a considerable reabsorption of CO2, but also improves the overall environmental quality in a building. Due to their lightweight, 30 to 50% less material is used compared to other render systems, requiring less transport, reduced energy usage and carbon footprint for each project. While small amounts of plastic and petrochemicals are involved in its manufacture and distribution, Warm Shell allows specifiers and builders to directly switch existing petrochemical-based insulation products and acrylic renders for natural material warm shell boards and breathable lime renders. Not revolutionary, but like electric versus petrol-fueled cars, these systems provide an energy efficient and very low carbon alternative. Thank you.
Okay, great video. Thank you very much. So perhaps I can ask Dominic and Simon to turn their cameras on, and I can welcome the judges back in. So I'm going to do it in a different order. So perhaps I'm going to ask Stephanie to come in first, and then we'll come in with Drew then and Azif last. So Dominic, are you going to have you got your camera on?
Yeah.
Great, okay. So over to you, Stephanie.
Great. Hi, Dominic. Hi, Simon. Thanks very much for your question. Hey. Yeah, so you mentioned that small amounts of plastic and petrochemicals are used in the manufacturing and distribution. Does that happen to be the mesh that sits through the middle of the product? If you caught that okay, the question was, is the mesh that sits through the render on the warm shell external installation, is that made of plastic?
Yeah, yes, the mesh is, as you rightly pointed out, is based. We are trying to source materials that would contain less plastic, right. But as you mentioned earlier in your presentation, there are often some elements of a construction process where it's quite difficult to completely replace plastic base with a more natural base substitute. The mesh performs a very important function, which is to build some of the flexibility into the render system. So yes, we are looking at trying to identify possible sources for a replacement material, but as we speak, we haven't yet found that alternative yet.
Sure, yeah, it's not an easy fix, is it? But it's great to hear that you are looking into that for a completely natural product solution.
I know Simon may have something to add.
Simon, I think you might be on mute. Is that right? You want to try and take yourself off mute and pitch in?
Any better?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay. I was just going to say on the plastics side of things that there is some of the packaging is plastic, and we have been. It's not our own problem, but it's very difficult to source. We are moving away from it where we can, but it is quite difficult to. The products come in predominantly paper sacks, the renders and plasters, but there is a plastic membrane in, a very thin plastic membrane, which dramatically increases the shelf life of the product. So if we just go to paper, we get a much shorter shelf life and more products thrown away. So we're stuck in this. We've looked at other examples and biodegradable bags, but we're not able to order the quantities required of those yet. So it's coming, but it's work in progress. So that's where our plastic is at the moment, and we're always trying to reduce it, of course.
Interesting challenges there. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, there's always a trade-off, isn't there, in to be considered against the shelf life and the quality of the product, as you say.
Mortars and renders are hygroscopic, so if they're not protected from humidity to some extent, then we end up with a material that is unusable.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more, Stephanie?
No, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So Drew, I'm going to ask you to fire away.
You know, I think that the issue that you're having with plastics, particularly on protection, I think is an issue that a lot of members of the plastic working group have highlighted. It's fine, and us included. You know, it's great having a product that is plastic free or a very high percentage plastic free. But again, if you have to then protect it again, it's a difficult one to solve the question. And again, hopefully somebody will come up with a solution for that, or a workable solution for that soon. Just on a practical point, the product's lightweight, which obviously I can see the advantages of, but thickness-wise versus thermal, how does that compare with other products? And just a second sort of follow on from that is what's sounds fantastic. What's stopping it from, or what's stopping it from taking over from mineral and other materials?
Simon, would you like to take the first one?
Yeah. Okay. So what's stopping it? What stops a lot of these products from taking over from running the mill? So I think there's certain inertia with other products, thermally, wood fibre boards are not quite as good as some other installations, but they're not a million miles away. So there might be a slightly thicker build-up in some circumstances. The renders, if I put them in a different bag and told you they contain cement or something else, I bet you most plasterers wouldn't be able to tell. So there's a certain amount of resistance. There's a lot of conservative thinking in construction, where we stick with what we know rather than look for other stuff. We have had certification which demonstrates that the product has passed and the same standards and is fit for use in exactly the same way as alternative materials. So in theory, there's not a lot stopping people using it. It's perhaps just fear of, we're a relatively small company like yourself, so we're not a big multinational, so all of those things sort of gang together against us a little bit.
I think, Drew, thank you for the question. I think we are, the business is growing very, very fast. The reception of breathable wall insulation systems is also growing quite fast. There is no limitation where we're concerned. We're very fortunate that 18 months ago we completed a brand new state-of-the-art lime dry mix plant, and there is good supply of wood fibre insulation panels in the UK. Like a lot of these things, because historically people I think have shied away from, let's call it premium to top end specification systems, largely on a cost basis, as Asif has rightly pointed out, gradually the system is becoming better recognised by specifiers, and we have been largely, the growth, if you like, has been led by specification. For example, 2 years ago, we completed a very important project in Essex at a place called Cannock Mill near Colchester, which was 30 new build homes, which were built as a community-led project. And it's, it is a beautiful community that, they chose these materials because of the quality of the air quality within the building, the breathability of the building, and the sustainability factors around the materials that they wanted to use and therefore live with for the long term. So gradually, people are picking up on it, and we are fortunate, mainly, as I say, thanks to specification and rolling out a program of awareness through construction companies as well. But as Simon mentions, there is resistance in the construction world because many builders, whether they are house builders or people supplying the materials, tend to stick with what they know, and getting them to that first step and try this system. It is starting to happen with some of the small, medium-sized house builders, but they're often very tentative and they say, okay, well, we'll do a couple and see how it goes. And, you know, we understand that, but, you know, thankfully we've also got some good examples of where bigger projects have successfully completed. And these are very important case studies that we talk a lot about in order to spread the word of the benefits of these natural materials.
Okay, thanks guys. Thanks Dominic, thanks Simon, thanks Drew. So I'm going to ask Asif now to pitch in. So thanks Asif.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation. It's fantastic to hear. Just a couple of quick questions. How is it adhered to the wall? If you're going to retrofit your product externally, how's it fixed on?
Well,
okay.
Well, essentially, depends. So you carry on, Simon.
Oh, sorry, Dominic. Yes, so it depends which sort of wall it's been fitted to. If it's a timber frame building, the boards are tongue and groove, so they are screwed or stapled to the timber structure, and then they're rendered. And so you end up with a solid timber wall. There's no air gaps or voids or vented or drained cavities or all that sort of stuff. If it's masonry, and we're talking about using this externally, then there would be a supplementary adhesive, which is essentially a part of the line render system on the back of the boards, special anchors to hold the board to the wall. So we part of the BBA process is we work out how many fixings we need per board for this given location, the type of stone, brick, or whatever the wall is made from, and then you carry on with the render as before. So either basically mechanical fixings, and in the case of masonry, a supplementary adhesive.
Okay, thank you. Another quick question for me. How do you deal with other insulation materials when you say come to a window or come to ground? So how does that junction work?
Okay, so wood fibre boards along with expanded polystyrene, mineral wool and other such insulations, you can't use them beneath damp-proof course, so or 6 inches above ground level. Beneath that, you either need to use the foamed glass insulation, which is impervious to moisture, or if you want to use a extruded plastic, you can use an extruded plastic insulation. And there's a join between the two. There's sort of at that damp-proof course. I've forgotten your other part of the question. Windows.
Yeah, it's just windows. What do you do when you come up to a window, especially on a retrofit? That's always a tricky junction.
Yeah. Okay. So, thanks. It
2 minutes
depends
to
is
answer,
the answer.
Simon.
Sorry?
You've got 2 minutes to answer.
Okay, all right. Can I say it depends? It depends. It depends if the window's been retained or if it's a new window, if the window's been moved in relation to the inside or out, whether it's been brought forward. So it depends, but it's either there's a reveal board, a thinner reveal board going back to the window frame, or the window is perhaps there's a new window and the window is brought forward to the back of the insulation boards. But importantly, in both cases, we recommend, and I know it's not common practice in external insulation and retrofit, we recommend that junction is really a substantial weather-tight join, because that's where we think that water can get into the system, any system, not just ours, but it's where water can get in. And of course, water is the enemy of buildings, and I mean, it will reduce the thermal performance. So it's the detailing around windows and openings is really crucial. take more than 2 minutes, so I'm just going to leave it there.
No, you've done a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That's really great. So we've got a few questions that have come in on the Q&A, but we sort of run out of time. So I'm going to perhaps ask if Simon and Dominic can type the answers to those questions that have come in on the Q&A. And then we're going to move on to our final picture today. So that's Kate Brown from FabHab. So we're going to tee up your video, Kate, and then come to you. Yeah, strap in, everybody. So here's our video from FabHab. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kate Brown.
And I'm Oliver Margison. We're co-founders of FabHab, a purpose-driven design and construction company.
Our mission is to transform the way homes are built to minimise environmental impact and maximise social impact.
FabHab is a digitally manufactured modular timber frame construction system built from off-the-shelf natural materials to deliver a whole-life climate-positive solution. Building components are manufactured off-site for high-quality, quick, low-cost production.
Alongside our environmental purpose, we also focus on creating social value. We do this firstly by working with charities and social enterprises to create opportunities for education, upskilling and job creation in the MMC industry. And secondly, by delivering low-cost, high-quality, healthy homes and community places that help tackle the housing crisis and the links between housing and poor health.
So our approach is innovative because we use off-the-shelf, natural, low-impact materials in a system that doesn't need specialist skills to construct. This simultaneously overcomes the issue of a shortage of skilled tradespeople, while at the same time encouraging and enabling the community involvement in placemaking.
Creating high-performing buildings usually involves the use of more insulation, which often means plastic-based materials. But these plastics are avoidable. FabHab maximises the use of natural materials to deliver comfortable, healthy living environments and a radically reduced environmental footprint. We believe the FabHab solution is unique. We have social and environmental purpose at the core of what we do, and our aim is to support communities to build communities.
Our approach contrasts with conventional construction by delivering a high-quality, high-performing, low-cost solution without the need for specialist trades.
We are committed to ongoing research and innovation to deliver our mission. We would welcome the opportunity to work with the ASBP and its members to tackle the issues we've discussed and evolve the FabHab system.
Okay, great video from you guys. Thank you very much for that. So this time around, I'm going to ask Drew to come in first and ask his questions. So Drew, can you take yourself off mute and put your camera on and ask your questions of Kate and Oliver?
Yeah, hi Kate. Hi Oliver. You mentioned that I can't remember if it was in the presentation or I looked at your website last night, that it can be, or the program can be sent to various manufacturers in local areas for CNC cutting of the profiles. How do you maintain quality control? By obviously to make sure that the correct OSB board or the correct grades are used. And the other question is how flexible is the system to size in terms of scalability? Again, is it just small sort of home offices, or is there a larger scale available, or can it be scaled up in size?
So, I mean, to answer that first question about quality control, because the parts are designed and files are designed in such a way that we're talking about millimeter precision, those CNC machines work to those same millimeter precisions. We're able to fairly confidently ensure that whatever gets sent out to the CNC manufacturer is exactly what we end up having cut for us. So that element of quality control exists purely because the CNC machines themselves are that accurate.
I appreciate it does for the shape of the profile, but what controls what's actually put down on the bed of the CNC cutter to start with?
So that's through our designing the parts, the systems. They work on a sort of a slot and tab system. So we know that as we design our system, we are designing in a two-dimensional file that gets sent to the CNC people, but we're also forming those two-dimensional files into a three-dimensional file, and we're physically building the building digitally before we've even sent that out. So we can be absolutely sure that there's no conflict with any of those parts. Sorry.
I was just going to say as well, we have a preferred supplier at the moment that we use. So we work with them on an ongoing basis, and we intend to do that whilst we're manufacturing locally to ourselves. And it might be that eventually we bring that manufacturing in-house, but at the moment we're using a third party for the CNC element of the build. And the second question was flexibility on size.
So the system is basically, it's designed around a modular system, so we can achieve flexible spans, and we slot our system together on a modular basis. And along its length, we are potentially infinite in size. You just continue to add a module. One of the other benefits of that is that if you want to start with a building of, say, 5 meters long, and then next year you want to add another 3 modules to it, that's perfectly possible to do that. Literally, you're just adding those modules, connecting those together. So it gives you ultimately, lots of flexibility.
As you go wider, so the span would increase, the depth of the construction increases. So the building we're sitting in is our office, which is one of our own buildings, and it's quite narrow. It's got a narrow wall build-up, but as you go to wider spans, you just get wider wall build-up. And at the moment, I think the widest we can go to has a 280 mil build-up with a 5 and a bit meter span. And obviously, as we get asked to make wider buildings, we can either have pillars supporting those in between, you can have a room backing onto another room, or we just do some engineering and work out how to increase the span. And that might be structural timber, more structural timber internally. So yeah, we haven't built anything much wider than that. But as we get demand to do that, we'll just do the engineering and work out how to solve that problem.
One of the things to talk about that, the sort of maximum spans, is we're quite, we really want people to be building them themselves without this need for specialist skills. So the larger elements get, the more you're having to rely on quantity of labour or lifting, heavy materials, that sort of thing. So we're purposefully not looking to create vast houses. There's a wonderful series of books called The Not So Big House, which is telling us how we should be living. It's not, we don't need all this space. We need better quality spaces. So, we're keeping our spans relatively small so that we can ensure that communities can still use our system to build with before it gets too complicated, too difficult, too hard, and you have to rely on other people.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks Kate, thanks Oliver. So Stephanie, I'm going to ask you to take yourself off mute and fire away. Thank you.
Sure, great. Hi Kate and hi Oliver.
Hi.
Hello. I had a look through your website, and I think the sales model that FabHab have offered is really smart. I understand there are kind of 4 elements that you offer, from just doing the design only through to full construction. I wondered, with the orders that you've had placed so far, which of those 4 do you find are most popular?
Good question. Bear in mind we're very new.
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah.
we're evolving our approach at the moment, because what we're finding is there's a bit less demand for people who actually want to build it themselves end to end, and a bit more demand for people who want our support to put it together and then finish it themselves. So one of our kind of customer segments is tiny house. So people who might want to build a little house on a trailer, and we might help them put together the frame, and then they would do the cladding and the internal finishes and fit out. And so we're calling that, which isn't actually on our website at the moment, a supervised self-build. So Ollie goes along and helps them as a project manager to teach them how to put it together, the frame and the kit, and erect the structure of the building, and then they do the remainder of the work themselves. And that's quite a typical approach for that tiny homes group. And then it might be that other organisations, so we've got a plan on the drawing board at the moment for a scout hut, and they really want the scouts to be involved in building their own building. So there's a kind of a panelised approach, so because you can't have children doing anything too dangerous or difficult, but they can do really basic, because it's like flat pack furniture, it just goes together with a rubber mallet. So it's a really good fun kind of community activity. So there's different demands, and I think we are realistically going to be selling the majority of them on a turnkey basis. So for people who might want, some ancillary accommodation at home, because we're all working at home now, we haven't got enough room, then those buildings in your back garden ancillary to your house, people want those turnkey. They just want them set up on site, connected to the electricity and able to move in. So it's realistically, a lot of them will be like that. But we're also very happy to get involved with communities to help them put them together themselves.
I think it depends on size. Our smallest offerings where we're looking at home working or ancillary accommodation, I think a lot of people will want the turnkey there. The larger stuff where we're talking about community buildings, or we're in discussions with a homeless charity locally about how we can provide crisis housing. And that is, how can we involve, for instance, the homeless community locally, how can we involve them in actually building the shelter for themselves, so they're invested in that process. So we have quite a big desire to put an emphasis on teaching and training, and putting it back in the hands of those users and those communities, not reliant on specialist ground workers, bricklayers, roofers, all that. We can do the bulk of it ourselves as unskilled labour.
Yeah, great. Fab. Simon, is there time for a follow-up question as well?
I have to be very quick. Go on then, Stephanie.
Okay. It might be one to follow up with on the chat then, instead of discussing. But I was interested in the description says that you'd be able to provide the inner leaf effectively materials, and that the roofing and the cladding materials could be specified by the buyer. So I wondered whether you had entered any partnerships with manufacturers in terms of providing the outer leaf materials as well, and how you might work with them to reduce the wastage, because that's a really key part of your concept. And so to have that not work for the roofing and the cladding would be a shame. But if there's not enough time to answer that, I appreciate it's a big question, so feel free to follow up in the chat box, because other...
So we focus at the moment on where the biggest impact is. So we focus on the frame and the insulation materials. We are hopeful of building a partnership with a company, well, I won't say who it is because we haven't agreed it yet, but we would like to purchase the installation and the whole, the way that the wall is built up from one company. And that's a British-based company using hemp, which is what we've got in the walls here. But
one of the things with striking, I mean, we're keen to work with local suppliers and looking at ways to reduce waste and the rest. One of the things we're keen to do, Kagan, particularly, is look at the system rather than a static system. We think it will constantly evolve. So as new technologies come available to the market, we want to be able to adapt the system to take advantage of those. So I think you keep talking about the submarine situation where you eliminate the loudest noise, and then once you've done that, you work on the loudest noise and so on.
So I'm doing, we work at so many approaches the whole building. And like Ollie's just said, if we can get rid of the biggest impact, so the windows and doors, how do we reduce that, for example, and then tackle the next loudest thing, and then the next loudest thing, to just constantly working to reduce the overall impact, because it's pretty straightforward to put natural materials in the frame of the building and say that we've got a big negative to start with, but then we've got the positives of the glass and the the frames of the doors and windows and the membranes. So yeah, those are the things we're going to try and continually evolve and build relationships with other manufacturers, which is hence why in the video it says, we're happy, we'd be really interested to work with ASBP and its members to try to continue to evolve and carry out our research.
Yeah, great.
Okay, lovely. Well done for answering a very complex question swiftly. So as if I'm going to buzz you in, we're running out of time, guys.
Okay,
so...
all right. As you're using screw pile foundations, it's still you're not.
Not exclusively, no.
Oh, sorry, I misread that off your website then. Sorry, apologies. So it's classified as a temporary building. So it's effectively, it's not subject to planning. It's a plus point. It's a real plus point.
Well spotted, yes. So for instance, this building we're in at the moment we are situated in the green belt here, and we are forward of the building line of the existing dwelling. And local planning policy dictates that we are not able to build a traditional building forward of that line. However, with the size constraint of this particular building, we're able to demonstrate that it falls under the category of a chattel, and therefore comes under the Caravan Act, and we are allowed then to build a structure up to 20 metres long, 6.5 metres wide, and 3.05 metres high. So we had to demonstrate to council that we are a chattel. We have to provide engineering that this particular building can be lifted as one structure once it's complete, and that gives us much greater freedom in terms of planning policy. So a lot of ancillary accommodation, home offices, that sort of thing, even above and beyond what we can have with permitted development. If we can apply the chattel rule, that opens us up even more. Larger buildings will be subject to planning as per anything else. And the larger the building gets, depending on how big that is, we adapt our foundation system. At the moment, we're on adjustable jack pads. We've looked at screw piles. The system can also be used on a conventional sort of slab system as well, but obviously we're trying to avoid the use of concrete or limit that use of concrete.
This building on the pad foundations, you could lift the whole building up, put it on a truck, take it somewhere else, lift up the pad foundations and rake over the gravel. It wouldn't, there's no impact on the ground long term.
Fantastic. I really like that idea. Yeah, thanks everybody. Look, time is against us, I'm afraid. So there's a few questions in the Q&A. So perhaps I can ask you guys just to have a go at those quickly. We're going to pop up our audience poll in the meantime and ask our audience to try and vote. It's very challenging, really. The 3 fantastic products and you all deserve to win, really. So it is going to be difficult, I think. So thank you, Richard. So we've put our poll up and the votes are coming in now. So Dragons, I'm going to ask you to have a think about, again, it's very challenging, but I'm going to try and ask you to pick a winner of the 3 and just a quick sentence as to why. So that poll is coming in, so keep voting. We've got about half of you voted now. So I'm going to ask Stephanie to come back in and take yourself off mute and tell us who you feel is the most deserved winner. I know it's very challenging and I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I think all of the pictures that we've had today are great. We've got our cob blocks, which will significantly reduce the embodied carbon of the traditional bricks. The warm shell product is so needed to retrofit the millions of homes that we'll need to improve the thermal performance of in order to reach net zero across the UK. And the FabHab product could potentially be quite disruptive to, albeit a small section of the construction industry, but there's a really good ethos going there. So I think it's genuinely a really tough decision, but I think my vote today will be for FabHab.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. So over to you, Drew.
Yeah, hi. Look, thank you for all the for the three groups that presented. Again, like Stephanie said, very, very interesting, very different. All of them have different, different benefits. There's one that really has sort of struck a chord with, very similar to what we're doing. And the only reason that I'm going to go with this product is I see it having the most impact, or the most potential impact, on the way that we build at the moment. again, you know, I think all of the presenters have suggested, you know, getting people to change is one of the hardest things to do, and for that reason, I'm going to vote for the warm shell.
Okay, thank you, Drew. And Asif, over to you, my friend.
Right. Well, all fantastic presentations, and all, you know, sort of like I'd choose probably a different winner every day, to be quite honest, depending on your mood or who your client is or whatever else. I think Stephanie's done a fantastic job of summarizing effectively the advantages of each one. But I'm going to go with Drew. I think the one that has the biggest potential both for new and retrofit is the warm shell. So that's my vote.
Okay, thank you, Asif. All right, so a big round of applause, and thank you, judges. Done a great job there. And our audience poll also brings in warm shell as our winner. So I would like Simon and Dominic to say well done, congratulations. So both Simon and Dominic have an event on the 2nd of February with the Green Register. We work closely with the Green Register, so I'm sure we'll be able to organise some discounts to that event. I need to check the time, but it's on the 2nd of February, so there'll be a bit more time to understand a bit more about their factory and a bit more of time to understand a bit more about their product. So thank you, all your pictures, you all deserve to win. In my mind, you've all won. So thank you very much for everybody for your time, and just remains for me to wish you a Merry Christmas and a safe Christmas, and we look forward to working with all of you in the new year. So I'll say cheerio. We're 2 minutes out of time.